What if everything you thought you knew about America's most iconic sports car was wrong? The 1963 Corvette Sting Ray, an American dream machine, a car born from ambition, rivalry, and controversy. But behind its beauty lies a story General Motors never wanted you to know. A story of battles fought in boardrooms, secret experiments on racetracks, and a design so radical it divided the company itself. The year was 1963. John F. Kennedy was president, promising a new frontier. The Beatles had just exploded onto the scene, reshaping culture forever. And in America's garages, a fiberglass rocket ship was about to change the way the world looked at American cars. It was futuristic, it was dangerous, and it was unlike anything Detroit had ever built before. Tonight, we'll reveal the secrets of the 1963 Stingray, mind-blowing facts that will forever change how you see this fiberglass legend. Behind the 1963 Stingray's sleek body was a war of egos. On one side, Bill Mitchell, General Motors' flamboyant design chief, a man who believed cars were not just machines, but rolling sculptures. He demanded the Corvette look futuristic, daring, unforgettable. Mitchell's obsession? The split. Rear window. A razor-sharp divider slicing the back glass in two. To him, it was pure art, a blade of glass symbolizing speed and power. To his mind, it was the kind of feature that made a car immortal. But standing against him was Zora Arkus-Duntov, the engineer, the racer, the man later called the father of the Corvette. Duntov hated the split window. He argued it destroyed rear visibility, that it was dangerous for drivers at speed. To him, design meant nothing if it hurt performance. The feud between Mitchell and Duntov grew so heated that it nearly tore the Corvette program apart. For months, the battle raged. In GM's design studios, art against engineering, beauty against safety. In the end, Mitchell's will prevailed. The 1963 Corvette would wear the split window, a design so radical it shocked the automotive world. But the victory was short-lived. The split window would last just 1 year, erased by 1964, never to return. What was born of Mitchell's pride became one of the rarest symbols of American automotive history. Beneath the futuristic bodywork lay innovations that would forever change the Corvette's destiny. For the first time, engineers gave it an independent rear suspension. It was a radical departure from the solid axle design of the past, a breakthrough that transformed handling, stability, and cornering grip. The setup used a single transverse, leaf spring, distributing weight and allowing each rear wheel to react independently. It meant that the Stingray could finally challenge Europe's finest, not just in straight-line speed, but in the curves where true sports cars proved their worth. But that wasn't all. Hidden deep in the frame were secret mounting points, designed quietly for racers. They allowed suspension geometry to be altered for track duty, an engineering trick invisible to everyday buyers, but priceless for those who raced. Zora Arkus-Duntov made sure the car carried his fingerprints. He pushed for subtle tweaks, stronger components, reinforced areas, changes that ordinary drivers would never notice. To the public, the Stingray was a sleek fiberglass sports car. To insiders, it was a thinly disguised racing machine, ready to be unleashed on America's tracks. The secret was out there, but only those who knew where to look could unlock its full potential. Underneath the Stingray's sculpted hood beat the heart of raw American power. The 1963 Corvette came alive with the legendary 327 cubic inch small block V8, but buyers had choices. At the base, a 250 horsepower version, smooth, dependable, and affordable. Step up and you could unlock 300 horses. Push further, and Chevrolet offered 340 horsepower, turning the car into a street predator. But the crown jewel was the fuel-injected 327, rated at an astonishing 360 horsepower. This was not a car for the faint of heart. It was violent, unrefined, and breathtakingly fast for its time. But what made it special was not just the numbers, it was how it delivered them. The secret weapon was the Rochester mechanical fuel injection system. This wasn't ordinary carburation. The Rochester system fed fuel with precision, giving the Corvette instant throttle response and performance more in line with European exotics than Detroit muscle. It was advanced, it was ahead of its time, and it was expensive. Only about 10% of Corvette buyers chose it. Most stuck to the cheaper carbureted engines, leaving the fuel-injected cars as rare, temperamental legends. To mechanics, the Rochester system was a nightmare. To racers, it was a gift. And to collectors, today it is the holy grail of Corvette performance. The 1963 Corvette wasn't just about style. Underneath, it had the muscle and the technology to match its daring looks. Hidden in the 1963 Corvette lineup was a package almost no one knew about. It carried no flashy badges, no chrome gimmicks, and no showroom hype. It was called RPO, Z06, the secret weapon designed for one purpose only: racing. The Z06 package transformed the Sting Ray from street cruiser to endurance warrior. It added stiffer springs and shocks, larger sway bars, and massive finned aluminum drum brakes to withstand punishing hours on track. Buyers weren't looking for comfort. They were buying survival at 150 miles an hour. But there was one more option, whispered about in racing circles, the so-called Big Tank. Instead of the standard 20-gallon fuel tank, Z06 buyers could order a massive 36-gallon version. Designed for long-distance endurance racing, it allowed fewer pit stops, an advantage that could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Only 63 to 78 cars ever received this monster tank. In total, only 199 Z06 Stingrays were built in 1963. To most Americans, they didn't even exist. To racers, they were priceless weapons. And today, they stand as some of the most valuable Corvettes ever made. When a genuine big tank Z06 crosses the auction block, prices soar into the millions, if collectors can even find one. While the Stingray dazzled showrooms, its birth was far from glamorous. Every single 1963 Corvette was assembled at the St. Louis plant, a facility running at breakneck speed to meet unprecedented demand. More than 21,000 Stingrays rolled off the line that year, a staggering 50% increase over 1962. But behind the numbers were men battling fiberglass dust, heat, and relentless pressure. Unlike steel, fiberglass was unpredictable. Panels had to be sanded, reshaped, and corrected by hand. Workers endured itchy skin, irritated lungs, and long hours under harsh factory lights. Building a Corvette was as much craftsmanship as it was mass production, and hidden in that process were secrets, VIN numbers. To combat theft and fraud, Chevrolet discreetly stamped identification numbers in multiple locations on each car, beyond the obvious dash plate. Some were buried under panels, others tucked inside the frame. These hidden marks were known only to GM engineers at the time. Decades later, restorers began uncovering them, ghostly imprints of authenticity, proof of a Corvette's true lineage. For collectors today, finding those hidden VINs can mean the difference between a $1 million treasure and a worthless fake. The St. Louis plant was a factory of dreams, but also a crucible of struggle. Every Corvette that left those gates carried not just fiberglass and horsepower, but the sweat and labor of thousands who built America's most iconic sports car. The 1963 Corvette Sting Ray wasn't just another American car. It was the one that finally silenced the critics. For years, European manufacturers laughed at Detroit's attempts to build true sports cars. But when the Sting Ray hit the track with its independent suspension, its 360 horsepower fuel-injected V8, and the deadly Z06 package, the laughter stopped. The Corvette was no longer a pretender. It was a contender. In racing, it proved its worth. In showrooms, it exploded in popularity. Sales jumped 50% from the previous year, cementing Corvette as America's sports car. The Stingrays. Sharp lines and futuristic split window turned heads everywhere. It wasn't just transportation. It was a cultural symbol of power, youth, and ambition. Today, the '63 Stingray holds a place few cars can match. Collectors will pay staggering sums for them, with Z06 Big Tank cars reaching millions. The once controversial split window, hated by engineers and scrapped after just 1 year, is now the most iconic and valuable Corvette design ever built. The Stingray changed America's perception of what its cars could be. It proved that a fiberglass-bodied machine from St. Louis could stand proudly among the world's great sports cars. And 60 years later, it remains a legend, an untouchable icon of style, power, and rebellion. So now the question is yours. What's your favorite feature of the 1963 Corvette Sting Ray? The futuristic split window that divided General Motors? The rare fuel injection that turned it into a racing beast? Or the secret Z06 package, built in silence for the track, and now worth a fortune? Every Corvette tells a story. But none has a story quite like the '63. Born from rivalry, perfected through engineering, and remembered for its rarity, it remains the car that defined Corvette's destiny. Tell us your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden histories of classic cars. Because the machines we drive often carry secrets you've never been told. The 1963 Corvette Sting Ray, a car born of beauty, rivalry, and rebellion, a legend that will never die.